feels like the time to stare at my face for many hours once again. Set myself the goal of painting 100 of my dream stories, which I recently completed. And in the process of those 100 paintings, I painted my first 2 mirror self-portraits. Both were very evoking and personal experiences for differing reasons. This was the first, and it happened around number 60 in the dream painting timeline. By that time, I'd got really familiar with oil pastel and oil paint on this paper, which freed me a lot of the production concerns. And this being my first mirror style portrait, I didn't realise how much I would have to reset my face position. So I was using my jaw here, along with my neck, kept looking and making sure that those 2 things lined up before drawing again. And before this, portraiture didn't exist in my head at all. So more so than anything, this piece of work unlocked a whole new mental territory for me, both in self-portraiture and portraiture in general. This was the second one, and I had a very different time with this technically. So this was painted on canvas, which was primed with Thixotropic Alkyd primer. So it was primed, sanded, until you get a mirror-like finish, which meant that it hated the pastel, and it actually cracked some of the canvas, but I love the paint. The paint sits on top of this, unlike the paperworks that I've been doing. They're unprimed, so they just drink up all the paint. From a performance standpoint, I was sat at quite a weird angle, and it meant that it was very much uncomfortable compared to the first one. And this turned into something that feels to me like a funeral portrait. It's managed to display all the rigid aspects of my character that I dislike, and is the same reason why I initially disliked this portrait, but months later I realised that's why it's a better portrait than the first one I showed you. So next for me is to explore some more self-portraits. And having said everything I've just said, I do realise how much of a self-exploration that might be and should be, or I don't think they were very good as works, or for me, taking on everything that I've learned so far and what I learned from the 100 dream paintings. I'm going to paint these things a lot smaller, or even smaller, so they can be a lot more regular and be less of a monumental. And I'm going to use some new oil pastels that I've got. They're a lot more lipsticky than the ones I've been using, and they also smell very strange, so I don't fall into a habit of just using them like I have been doing. I might find I don't like them and go back there, but that's for tomorrow, Jackson. I'm working with something a lot more nimble, like these tiny books, and probably a tiny mirror. I'm thinking that I can explore the performance aspect of these self-portraits too.